a lot of people wonder, so what does a day in the life of a retired person look like? I retired about 12 months ago. I was a financial advisor before that. So I want to give you a peek inside of the tent for what my life looks like. We're all going to be different, and this is just a normal day. This isn't travel or something like that. But the first one, and something that I'm kind of excited about, is for the most part, I no longer need to wake up with an alarm. And I try to get a solid 8 hours of sleep, maybe even a little bit more every night. And back when I was working, the reality is we're trying to balance a lot of things. I was somewhere between 6 hours of sleep and, if I was lucky, 8 hours, but typically 6 to 7 hours. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it's one of the reasons that my blood pressure started going up. Now that I've been retired, now that I can get a full night's sleep, my blood pressure has dropped 20 points. I went from borderline high blood pressure to normal. And I credit most of that with my sleep because I was doing a lot of things right before, trying to eat the right foods, watching my weight, exercise, etc. So that's the first one, wake up without an alarm clock. The second one is, I get to start my day relaxed. I don't have to pop out of bed, quickly shower, get going for the commute to work. So the next one is just relaxing, having a cup of coffee, eating some breakfast. Um, in this little town that I'm in right now, there's a newspaper that only comes out twice a week, so I enjoy catching up on what's going on in this small town. But just a relaxing start to the day. And then I like to go outside and do something physical, kind of a warm up. So I'll typically walk my daughter's Labrador. Sometimes my wife joins me, sometimes she doesn't. After that, I'll go to the gym and work out. And that's the key, is having the time to really take care of myself. It's a gift. It's a gift that I think at some point I want all of us to be able to give to ourselves. And so I usually get to the gym around 10 a.m. By the time I leave there, it's sometime between 11 and noon by the time I get back home. So that's pretty much what my mornings look like. Now, I have more of a routine in the morning, and I'm going to share with you too what when I'm planning on traveling, what some of that looks like. But let me just keep going. So we talked about, right now I'm about at noon, and then I try to do something that's intellectually stimulating for me. For that, I'm involved in a couple not-for-profits, so there might be some follow-up. Um, I'm the treasurer of a not-for-profit, so there might be some Excel calculation I have to do or something like that. Or maybe helping a friend with his or her business idea. I like talking to people about business. I like helping them strategize. I like helping them think through solutions. Or give some thought to my YouTube channel and some of the things. Which videos do I want to do next? Things like that. So that's typically 2 or 3 hours out of the day, just thinking about something intellectually stimulating. And so that gets me to like 2 or 3 o'clock. Then I try to do an activity either with my wife or with a friend. Oftentimes that involves the Labrador as well. And my wife loves to walk, so she's usually available to do something like that, a hike or a walk or something like that. Or if a friend's available, doing something with a friend of mine. And that gets me, close to dinner time. And so then I'm doing dinner stuff, helping to prepare dinner, grocery shopping, running, because we always forget something for dinner, something like that. Um, and then in the summertime, I just like to relax on the deck, relax on the patio with family and friends. And in the wintertime, when it starts getting dark, many of you know that I've moved away from this small town that I'm in now in Utah, moved away from there to the Pacific Northwest. Gets dark pretty early in the Pacific Northwest in the wintertime. So in the wintertime, I might do some internet research. I might be researching on where can I go that it's not raining, which brings me to my next point, which is, some of the things I'm excited about doing. I'm coming up on 12 months retired. And in that first 12 months, I spent a couple weeks in Europe, which was really fun with my wife. I spent about 6 weeks in Guatemala. I spent about the same amount of time in Costa Rica, another 6 weeks. I didn't plan on doing those back to back, but researching those trips, finding out about what the fun things are to do there. I like to surf, so I wanted to find out, I didn't even know, is there surfing in Guatemala? So finding a location there, figuring out how I could rent a surfboard, things like that. Same thing in Costa Rica. Both locations, by the way, are great for surfers. Trying to figure out how I can get inexpensive airfare for where I'm going. If you're interested in travel, a free plug. This video is not sponsored. I'm not an affiliate, but it used to be called Scott's Cheap Airfare. And they send out an email a couple times a week. You let them know what your home airport is, and they let you know where airfare is inexpensive. And so oftentimes I do not start the year saying, okay, I'm going to go to these locations, but I let Scott's email show up and say, oh, I can get to Indonesia inexpensively, or I can get to Europe, or I can get to Peru, or wherever. And so given that I've been fortunate, I've been able to do some traveling in the last 5 years, but there's still a lot of places that I haven't gone. So if I haven't gone, if it seems like fun, if the airfare price is good, I might go there. And if it's a place that, is on my wife and I short list, there's a couple countries. Ireland's currently on our short list. We're hoping to do a Camino de Santiago walk, which will take us probably in our case through Portugal into Spain. And sometimes, there's just locations we want to go. So we can't wait for the inexpensive airfare. We have to pay a little bit more. But again, this is what we save the money for. And I talk on my channel about, if you're 60 years old, the likelihood is you only have 1,000 weeks of healthy active time remaining. So if you're 40 or 50, just keep that in mind as you think about, when should I plan on retiring? And I think there's a lot of benefit to actually planning on being able to retire in your 50s as opposed to your 60s. If you get there and you're like, for whatever reason, you don't want to retire, great, that's fine. But about half of all Americans do not get to decide when they retire. This is according to a report by Goldman Sachs. About half of us have a health issue, or we have to take care of an elderly parent, or something happens at work. We go through a layoff, we get fired. Unfortunately, age discrimination is a real thing. So being able to prepare, frankly, it was one of my biggest findings as a retirement advisor for over 20 years, is being able to retire sooner than what most Americans are thinking. Being able to retire in your 50s instead of your 60s has a lot of advantages, whether you actually retire then or not. And one of the keys to being able to do that is to have a financial plan. I'm a fan of working with a fiduciary financial advisor. Mea culpa, that's what I did for 20 years of my career. And I know a lot of my audience is never going to work with a financial advisor, either, because they want to do it themselves, or they don't want to spend the money, or they don't trust anybody else, which are all legitimate reasons, all legitimate concerns. If you're going to do it yourself, I urge you not to use Google Sheets or Excel. I urge you to use software designed to help you think through your retirement and to make sure there's no calculation errors and things like that. The software I like is called Bolden. It used to be called New Retirement. You can find it in the description below. And then finally, if you like this video, I think you'll like this video up here, where I talk about 7 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s in order to enjoy your journey until you get to retire more. So thanks for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.